Don't veil out so quickly, Spivey. Don't try to hide on me. And I was going to ask you how things were going out in Vegas today.
Man, they are, it's sunny and beautiful and blessed. Got a balcony over here overlooking some of the mountains. It's hot, but it's not sticky. I know everybody talks about weather out in Vegas, but it's true. I heard an argument yesterday on the flight over about it's going to be more pleasant in Vegas, even though it's 20 degrees hotter than when we were leaving Chicago. And I think it's true. Beautiful location, fired up, got so many top leaders going to be out here to pour into the corporate overview tonight, and then go into the spring tour and some tremendous builders panels. I know it's going to be tough to top the recent spring tour that Miranda Martin put on, but we are fired up to give it one hell of a go anyways.
That's great. Well, excited for you to be out there. We don't get to banter around together, but it'll be a great time for you all. So
I feel like if you were here, we'd be going to see a killer show, Brian.
We would be. We'd be Cirque du Soleil out.
I keep thinking about, though, I'll talk about this in a bit too, but just the time zone difference, man. It's just completely different trying to get through the schedule and all the corporate meetings. And I was up at 4 a.m. this morning, anxious about my first Zoom meeting. And so much love to all you West Coast time zone folks.
That's right. That's right. They're bright and early. I know your clock doesn't adjust very well when you travel. It's not very forgiving. The older you get, it gets worse. So, yeah. Well, welcome everyone to the Builders Call. And we're really grateful for you being here, making this investment. And I'm just going to tell you, I am ready for you today. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our time together. And what we're going to talk about today is how to lead a world-class coaching group that drives results. And you're going to walk away with a 4-step proven process on how to do this. It was Honest Abe, good old Abraham Lincoln, who said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the saw. The art of preparation is sometimes underutilized, right? And we end up working harder instead of working smarter. And so what I would say is this. I'd say to be an effective builder, you must be an effective trainer. And to be an effective trainer, you must learn how to train and coach efficiently and effectively. And that's, if we think about that as a continuum, right? There's some of us on this call who just like to get stuff done real quick. And part of that is we just kind of roll with the punches and we show up somewhere and we just, not. And sometimes because we want to be efficient, we effectiveness, right? We maybe aren't as effective as we can be because we're not sharpening our saw ahead of time. But others of us are really on the effective side of the spectrum and of the continuum. And what happens is we spend all of our time, too much time, being effective and going deep and trying to get every detail right. And then all of a sudden we show up and, we've spent 5 hours preparing for something that maybe could have taken 15 minutes. And I'll be that radical talking about this today. So I've invited the amazing Miranda Martin alongside with us because this is an area of expertise for her and it's an area of passion for her. So we're going to be talking throughout this time, but let me give you the overview of the process and frame up our time. And then Miranda, you and I can banter for a minute. But here's the 4-step proven process I want you to walk away with today. Step 1 is going to be focus. Then we're going to get into great content, practice or role play, and then accountability. Those are the 4 steps that we're going to unpack. And by the end of our call, here's what's going to happen. You're going to immediately apply these insights of this proven process to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of your calls by providing greater value. And what that's going to do is going to increase the activity of people you're leading. It's going to increase their performance. Anything that we roll out with Summit, anything that we roll out with Quality U, the filters that we're using and will continue to use is this, first of all, what you need to hear and what you need to learn when you need to learn it. And then second of all, does it actually help you move the needle? Does it benefit you? Like we have no desire to do training and content that doesn't actually help you. So the good news about today, for all of you that are wanting to take notes I'm going to save you a step and let you know that I've already uploaded this presentation into Quillity U. So if you go to Quillity U and you click on File Vault, you see the arrow point to File Vault, and then go to Summit Mentor Resources. You're going to see a presentation called World Class Coaching Group Presentation. And if you're fast and snappy, you can go ahead and go over there, download it right now as we're talking, take your own notes in the presentation, morph it, make it yours. So you don't have to feel like you got to go and follow me along on every step here and catch all the notes, because some of these slides are a little bit more loaded than you're going to be able to track. So we're going to give you that content. But Miranda, let me talk to you about this topic of training. And I'm going to use this, efficient and effective. Some people are, they under prepare for things, and some people over prepare. Where do you sit on that continuum? And where do you see other leaders? What kind of insight would you have for them as you think about just preparing training appropriately and not under preparing or over preparing? What comes to mind for you?
So Miranda Martin, direct to Ryan Miller, Symmetry. Thanks for having me on, Brian. And yes, I love this topic. I believe that an audience can 100% see through an unplanned training, right? And sometimes we give it away by saying, oh yeah, I just, I might start it by even saying that I'm not prepared. I've heard that before. But I think one of the most important things about a training is figuring out what you want the audience to get out of it. What's the objective? Like when the training or the coaching session is done, what do you want to have happen? And because sometimes we'll just talk and talk and talk, but what's supposed to happen at the end, that's where we move the needle.
That's right. How would you rate my opening so far, according to your principles that you outlined in your effective book? And by the way, I did not say that I was going to promote Miranda. I didn't invite her on to promote her book, but I will tell you, her book, The Ultimate Sales Training Success Guide, should be in the hands of every leader in our company. It is outstanding. And I wouldn't endorse a book lightly or without forethought. Of course, now our founders endorse it, and lots of you on this call, or some of you, have had the privilege of doing that. It's really, really great. It is so good. Well, that's good. Yeah, I was going to ask you how I did with framing it up. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the big things, right? Especially in this digital world, like we're all on Zoom, right? And right now, Brian, I see you, but I don't see everyone else. Historically, if you're not on Zoom on camera, what are people doing? Maybe they're on Facebook, maybe they're doing the dishes, maybe they're dealing with their kids. Like the beginning of a training is like, hey, how can you stop people from doing what in the world they're doing and want to pay full attention to what you're about to talk about? If not, they're going to miss everything. Yeah, so that's good. Right. Right. It's like,
and specifically for those of you on the call today, what I want you to be thinking about, the bullseye of the application of this is a coaching group of up to, I would say, only about 8 people. Okay, we're not talking about a training size group of beyond 8 up to 15. Primarily, we're first thinking about how do you apply this really in your daily huddle up calls too. If you think about that, some of those are smaller groups of people. So the best audience for what I'm going to teach you today is a smaller group. Now, the second application is going to be for any kind of presentation that you do. It could be a training size, but you're going to see, for example, one of the tools is going to be doing practice and role play, or it's going to be asking a person the same question and going around the group. You can't do that in a group of 20 people. So you're just going to have to adjust there. But this content, gosh, this has been refined in the fires of Mordor for a long time. So we're gonna move on here. Can y'all see my screen, Miranda? I'll do a check. Can you see my step 1? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna walk you through the steps and give you the details. And again, presentation is in Quillity U. Click on File Vault. Click on Summit Mentor Resources, and then you'll see this presentation. All right. The first thing that you're going to want to do to present a world-class coaching group is select a relevant focus. Select one topic. Focus, Danielson. I know y'all can do this. Why are you going to select the focus? The simple answer to that is that focus expands. Some of you think that you've got to cover everything in one session. This is your only chance to cover that thing. But the truth is, focus expands. And the more narrow and niched that you get, the more depth that you're going to get, the more results that you're going to see. It's so important to make sure that you pick a focused topic, but not just a general vague topic that you pick out of the air. you've got to make sure it's a relevant topic to your audience. Now, how do you pick a relevant topic? I want you to think about who's going to be on your call and ask these 3 questions. Number 1, where are they in their development, right? You're going to want to be thinking about, have they been around for, 6 weeks now, 6 months, 6 years, right? Where are their barriers, right? Are they stuck on their close ratios? Are they stuck on just motivation? What is it, right? Where are they at? And if you think about a group of 6 to 8 people, this should really take you no more than 3 minutes to just kind of walk through in your head. Okay, I've got Miranda on the, man, she's hot, she's expert, and you know what? I'm going to have her contribute on the call. I'm going to kind of pull her in this role, and he's kind of, so, here's what they probably need to hear today, right? A great way to scale this very well is to check your Summit stats. And the rollouts that are coming on Summit are going to be, you're going to value them greatly. And the more over time, the integrations that we're going to do with data, with communicating with you all, if you're not using Summit and pointing all of your new agents to Summit, we hope that you will over time here, because the value that that's going to be for you right now, even to kind of track where they are, you actually have access to do that in HQ to kind of see where people are on that journey. That's a great way, because find out what step they're stuck at, right? And actually walk through that topic. So think about that. Where are they at in their development? Number 2, do they need more support or challenge? And you might find a time where everyone's in a different place, 50-50. 50 need support, 50 need challenge. Maybe other times everyone's just really challenged in the pit of discouragement. Shout out to Andrew Jimenez. I'm going to call it the pit of discouragement for now, or disengagement instead of despair. But do they need more support or challenge? Maybe everyone's in the pit of discouragement, and they all need support, right? And then where are they at emotionally, right? Sometimes people go through stuff and you got to pay attention to that, but it's important to go, what is it that my group needs to hear right now? Don't overcomplicate it. I promise you, and I'm going to tie this to the second step right away. And Miranda, I'm going to read one of your Miranda rights in a minute here to comment on. The second step is this: to prepare great content. Once you pick a focused topic, to prepare great content. And the one thing I want to say before we get in the weeds on this one is, just like Gatorade says, it is in you. I want you to see yourself as experts in this business if you don't. And Miranda, I love that you say this in your book. You say, you call these the Miranda rights. That's very clever, by the way. And you said you have the right to realize what true knowledge you have hiding inside you right now, waiting to be packaged for duplication. You have the right to dig down deep inside yourself like never before and extract the best possible targeted and intentional message. Now, my question for you on that, Miranda, is like, what made you write that? Why did you feel like that was such an important thing that you called it the Miranda rights, and you had to kind of put that on paper?
So one of the reasons that I wrote this book is because some people are really good at training, but just because you're good at selling, right? But just because you're good at selling doesn't mean you're good at developing people. It's a completely different skill set, right? So I believe all of us in here that know how to write policies and can do that at a high level doesn't mean that you yet have packaged that message out, but it's in you, right? It's in you. So what this book was designed to do is give a roadmap on how to extract that awesomeness, because like natural salespeople, for example, sometimes don't know why they're so good. They're just good at it, right? Would you agree with that? They're just like, oh, I just go out there and help people, and they just figure it out. But other people that aren't gifted natural salesperson like myself, I need to have a step-by-step process in order to figure stuff out. So this is really designed to help all of us figure out the messages and awesomeness and get them out there. So
that's right. And I did, yeah, for sure. I want people to know it's inside of you. You have the content, right? So once you have your topic picked, there's going to be 3 parts to what you prepare for a coaching session, right? So I'm going to, and again, there's lots of ways to skin the cat. I'm just giving you a very simple model to do this so that'll work for you. And I'm going to talk you through these. Number 1, the first part of your content is going to be a 7-minute directive presentation. And I'm going to encourage you to use the 35-1 model. The second part is going to be a conversation question to the whole group. And then the third part is going to be a 1-to-1 question for everyone to evaluate. And if I'm being honest, I believe for you on the call, this should take you no more than 10 to 15 minutes to prepare a coaching session. Now, it may take longer to prepare a training session or a larger group presentation, but this kind of coaching group should take you about 10 to 15 minutes because it's inside of you and you just have to extract it, right? So here's the next, I'm gonna walk you through the details, and I'm seeing in the chat that some people don't have access to that, including you. We'll make sure that everybody gets access to it as soon as we possibly can. All right, so if you're leading a coaching session, you thought about your relevant topic for your audience, they show up to the call, you're like, hey guys, welcome. What are you gonna do then? Once the coffee check-ins and the weather check-ins are done. All right, the first part is you're gonna talk for no longer than 7 minutes. That is my rule of thumb for you in a coaching group. You're not gonna wanna violate the 7-minute rule. In this 7-minute time, right, it's important that you do this, by the way, because everyone's coming in from a busy week. Maybe they just hung up the phones from 80 dials. Maybe they just had 3 back-to-back interviews. Like, we got to get people's mind set to what we're talking about. And so this 7-minute time does that. Don't assume that people are coming in ready to roll. And so the first 30 seconds, this is the 30-5-1 model. The first 30 seconds, you're going to say, hey, by the end of our time, I want you to blank. And as a result, you're going to be able to blank, right? And I'll give you an example in just a second, right? You're just going to capture their attention and let them know what you want to accomplish. And I promise you, if we're being honest on this call, and go ahead and in the chat, if you want to throw this in there, if you want to be vulnerable today, how many of us actually start calls like that regularly? Some of you do, and some of you are like, man, I don't really frame it like that. I don't say this is what I want by the end of our time. Hopefully that's a practice that's, getting out in the water system further, but that's going to help set the purpose. Then you're going to just spend about 5 minutes or so getting that great content out into the throughout the conclusion. Before you get into the coaching time, land it with some practical insight, some personal insight, something that really gets people, gets that topic from the head to the heart, if you will. So that's the 7 minutes that you're going to spend. Here's an example topic, right? Let's call this overcoming objections. Let's say you thought about your focus topic, and the topic was, I want to help my people overcome objections because a lot of them are just struggling with that. So here's an example 30-second purpose statement. Hey guys, welcome. As I thought about where all of you are at today, I've had many of you tell me that you're struggling with overcoming objections. So today, what I want you to do is I want you to understand the feel, felt, found method. And as a result, you're going to uncover a client's true objection and be able to address it using the plan, price, and person model. Now, I know this isn't new information because y'all have been through Summit and you've watched Mike Resma teach on these topics, which is in there, by the way. If you're not familiar with this, you're missing out on these skill blocks that are part of Summit right now, because that's where I pulled it from, right? I just pulled this purpose statement right from there. And by the way, that's a great thing to do. Go into Summit and actually pull a topic that you can use. Like, you don't have to always come up with it out of yourself. Like, any review is going to be applicable to the person that you're talking to, right? So that's a 30-second purpose statement. You're going to teach for 5 minutes, right? That great content. And then you're going to ask a question to the whole group just to get a pulse about how it landed with people. And I promise you, extroverts will take the bait on this, and it creates some engagement. Before you do some one-to-one coaching, you're going to ask that conversation of the whole group, right? And I give you an example here. This could be, hey, someone go first. What about this process is most difficult for you, right? Let's imagine we taught through the feel, felt, found, plan, price, and person model. And I promise you, some extroverts going to take the bait, and they're going to say, oh, you know what, man, I really feel awkward asking that question of a client because I'm afraid they're going to take it the wrong way, right? And now you're starting to unlock people. You're starting to open them up to that coaching experience. And then the rest of your time, most of the rest of your time is going to be spent on a one-to-one question where you're getting people to evaluate. So this is, by the way, now we're getting beyond the 7 minutes, right? The 7-minute part happened in that first part. Part 2 is the question for the whole group. You might spend 2 or 3 minutes there. but you're going to spend probably 30 minutes, depending if you have a role play, 30 minutes on the one-to-one coaching time. So in the one-to-one coaching time, is going to enter the same down. So Jody, start with you first. Then we're going to come to Danny. So Jody, which part of this process has been missing from your presentation in the past 2 weeks? And I want Jody to evaluate. I want Jody to think about which part of this process, maybe they haven't really explained one component of the plan. Let's say they didn't spend enough time. There was an objection about the plan and they didn't really unpack it. But I want to really go deeper with each person, because that's what you do in coaching, is you go deeper. So you do a round robin and create that kind of engagement, and you're going to see some great impact and results from that. So before I go on, Miranda, anything that you'd want to add about just when you're in that group, how you facilitate that time, walking people through, you've presented some content and then you're trying to create some engagement. What have you found people most struggle with or might need to work on? Anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we kind of touched on before was preparing the mind at the start. There's like an acronym that you can use, because this was the hardest part, is figuring out how to get people to pay attention. And it's in the book. It's called TAGS, TAGS. And it stands for troubles. Like, talk about how not doing this got you or an agent in trouble, right? Or agony of defeat, how you got defeated by it. The goal, which you talked about, presenting your goal, and then also success stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
You listen to the Brad Smith or Marlon Faulkner, it's always stories. So that would be one thing, Brian, that I think is something that takes time to figure out. And the second part, if you want to interact, this is probably the main thing that I see done that hurts coaching, is saying, do you have any questions?
Huh.
Or do you have any questions? Because 99% of the time, what are the people going to do?
Nothing.
No.
Oh, that's right.
But if you ask like an open-ended question, like, what about this process was most difficult for you? You're leading them to give you an answer. So if you take anything from this, don't say, do you have any questions, unless you want everyone to just be silent and go, duh.
That's exactly right. And listen, and we're in the weeds of it right here, but yeah. I want to just get everybody back to the fact that this is really, it's not difficult to do this. It's simple to do this. And it really just needs a few minutes of sharpening your saw, a few minutes of preparation. I promise you, I'd say 95% of people on this call can prepare an amazing world-class coaching session using this skeleton. If you, first of all, focus pick a focus topic for your audience, then just think about, okay, what do I need to say? The 3-5-1 model, right? And then what question? So start that one-to-one question for people to evaluate. And by the way, and then go to the next person and go to the next person. Jody might say, man, the plan part, I just don't feel like I know what to do. I might then lead Jody to say, hey, have you thought about going back and doing a little bit more digging into this thing, or this product guide or carrier guide or whatever it is. So in that case, you've got to now play jazz, right? We're giving you the classical sheet music, but there's a little bit of a jazz in managing the clock and managing the time. So just to land the plane, I'm going to give you the next 2 steps. Step 3, and I'll just say a caveat. You don't have to do this every single coaching session, but it's very good to at least revisit it and say, okay, now we've talked about it. Now, if I was leading that coaching session on overcoming objections, I would put people in breakouts and I'd say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this script and I want you just to role play it. Person 1, be the person, be the agent. Person 2, be the client, and be tough. Have some objections. I'm going to give you 10 minutes in the breakouts, and I want you to role play this particular script, right? So the third section is like, let's do what we call action learning, right? We believe learning happens in 70-20-10, right? 70% of your learning comes by getting your hands in the dirt and learning on the job. It's experiential learning. 70% of what you learn comes that way. 20% comes near the job, if you will, from mentors, from social learning, communities, networks. And then 10% comes from an online class, right? Kind of off the job. Maybe you go to a workshop or you're taking a class online. So it's so important that we make anything that we're doing experiential and making it so that you're actually trying it. Now, again, this may not fit every single call, and certain conversation and just talking and applying it in a coaching session is great. But when you can, if you've got a low-hanging fruit opportunity to actually role play, highly recommend that. Miranda, I'm sure you'll affirm that. I actually don't remember if that's in your book. I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's this learning pyramid, and I know you got your screen up, but it basically says with 5 people remember 5% of what you say, 10% of what they read, and it starts going up. When you discuss something, it goes to 50. But then when you actually practice it, like do a role play, it goes up to a 75% retention. So it's like exactly in line with all of this.
Yeah. I figured it was. And again, this is just a simple roadmap for folks to actually start practicing this. I think you take people a lot deeper in your book. The final, no hesitant. That wasn't the goal of the day. It's good that we're integrating your thoughts. The final step is accountability. And so you've done your 7 minutes of great content with the 35-1 model. You have then asked the open question to everybody to create a little engagement. You've done the one-to-one question. Maybe you've done a role play if it fits. It's great. Again, you're not going to do it every single session. It would be like every week creating a role play. Probably not, but pretty consistently, you're going to find ways to do that. And then it's like, so what, now what, right? What are the first steps? How are you going to land the plane? And I would recommend, as you wrap up your time, do one more round, asking each person that participated, what are the steps you need to take right now to apply this into your presentation, right? If I follow my scenario. And I'm going to leave the last 5 to 7 minutes of the group just for that quick call to action. Let me go around and find out, okay, Jody, it sounds like you were really struggling here. You were having a difficulty with the plan part. What's your best next step? What's your first step that you need to take? Some type of call to action, right? That actually puts it on them to do it, right? There's one of you, you've got your own work to do as a builder, as a manager, as an influencer. And so you can't actually go back and do everything for them. You can't even do everything with them, right? So you've got to learn that skill of how do I challenge that person to take on what's theirs and actually do it, right? So focus, great content, role player practice, and then accountability, that final call to action. If you do those 4 things, you will lead a world-class coaching group that drives results. You will. This is based on research and many, many, many years of experience. And if you don't have a structure for your calls, I'm going to triple dog dare you to actually do this week. So I would love for you to start, those of you that are leading coaching groups of 6 to 8, or even applying these principles into larger groups. I would love for you to practice it and let me know via email or whatever. Let me know how it's going. I think you're going to see some massive increased results from that. So Miranda, final thoughts, just as we transition into our national call here. We got lots of people on today, which is exciting.
I would just add that sometimes you're dealing with a small group and sometimes it's a big group. Utilize the chat bar. The more that you can get people engaged by asking questions and getting commitments and feedback and asking those open-ended questions and getting feedback in the chat, it keeps people engaged, right? And you can also get a record of that to help, cheer them on or help hold them the accountability factor. So I think that's something that's super important in our technology time.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, listen, we all have different strengths and different areas of growth. So what we're trying to do is distill decades of insight into just moments of practical, useful stuff for you guys, right? So not everybody went and studied education or was a teacher like Sarah Reinecke or others that are just have that background, right? Ian Graham and Miranda, again, putting lots of work into this. I would be so confident saying to you, if this was all you knew about how do I lead a great coaching group and you applied it, it'd be a great difference maker in your business. So, all right. Thank you, Miranda. Thanks for being alongside today, and grateful for you and your investment and all the training stuff. We got some exciting stuff happening down the pike that we'll hear about at conference about training, but lips are sealed for now. I love that. I love making all the hashtag FOMO people freak out when I do that for a minute here, even though it's hard for me. I struggle with that discretion and discipline. But Spivey, man, great to see you. Let's lock shields here and transition into our amazing national call.
Yeah, man, so appreciative. Thank you, guys. Great job. And thank you, Miranda, as always, for pouring in. Guys, definitely get out. Pour into that book if you have not already. She does a fantastic job of really breaking down the fundamentals in a way that everybody can relate to and understand. So, Mr. Doug.
What's happening?
What's going on over there, buddy?
Oh, just keeping things moving. How is the hotel room out there? Looks pretty nice. You got a porch?
Yeah, dude. I got a nice little balcony out there. I keep trying to show a little bit of my view. It's beautiful with the mountains behind me. And I got Jamie Susie over there that just texted me that she and Hemi and several others are out poolside listening to the national calls, listening to the builders calls. So nice. Beautiful scene over here.
Well, make sure you wear your sunscreen up there, Mr. Spivey. Why don't you come home all burnt up and gotta be get the aloe out. So strong out there.
I'll cover up, but we are fired up here in Las Vegas, getting ready to go for a spring tour event this afternoon. There's going to be several hundred agents here to hear about not only the opportunity that Symmetry is providing, but also some of the new leadership that we've not been able to see from stage in different varieties of panels. Going to be a tremendous opportunity to learn. We're super fired up to get this event underway. And I know right now, guys, the marketing team, the events team, Brandon himself is out there in Denver, Colorado. And they are taking a tour right now of the Belco Theater and the event space that we're going to be taking over in August. Is that right, Doug?
Right.
Brian? Coming up.
We're going to get our exercise in. We're going to get our steps in for sure. What's the distance again from the one side to the other?
I think it's about 1.5 miles worth of event space when you consider the hotel and the theater and all included.
Wow.
Just tremendous to think about how much this company's grown the last 10 years and to now be basically taking over the entire downtown area in Denver, Colorado is just phenomenal.
That's awesome. Yeah. From all indications, we'll be busting at the seams, which is about the best problem we could have. So really excited. Sounds like I might need to bring my skateboard out. Make sure I got a station to get around.
That's a good idea, actually. I'm gonna get one of them electric scooters.
One wheel.
Right. Or I could just walk and actually do something productive for my body.
Well, we'll get started here, guys. We've got a lot to get to. We've got a lot to accomplish today. We're super fired up. We have the Dave and Kelly Kushner on today to talk to us a little bit about their experience and their journey here at Symmetry, but also we wanted to have this very sweet two individuals on because not only are they tremendous business partners with Symmetry, but upcoming Father's Day. So we've got an upcoming Father's Day. We thought it'd be really cool to have a dynamic duo with a father-daughter combination of two people we really care about and love here around Symmetry. So stay tuned. We can't wait to have Dave and Kelly on and hear more from them. So let's go ahead and kick it off with a video, if we will, over there, Julie.